Everybody, my name is Derek Peterson. I'm the president of Hope Holdings. In this video, I want to talk about the future of social media, where I think things are going over the next couple of years. I think things are going to change a lot over the next couple of years, even over the next year. I think things are going to be very different in the world of social media, especially, well, in all of tech, but especially social media. So I kind of want to lay out, I think there's four roads we can go down right now from where we're at, which is not a very good place, honestly, but it is where we're at right now, like it or not. So we got to deal with reality. So the four roads, the four paths I think we can go down from this point on are: number one, status quo, things stay the same. Number two, somehow these big tech companies are nationalized, turned into public utilities, if you will. Number three, we have some free speech, so-called, and conservative alternatives rise up to push back against these and compete in a fair market and in a free market. And number four, something completely and totally different, something that we've never seen before. Spoiler alert, I think that three of these roads, three of these paths will lead to certain inevitable death, and one of them at least gives us a chance to get away, at least for a little while. So let's break these down one by one and kind of see what the good and bad is of each of them, and see which pathway it is we should go down. So first of all, again, the status quo, things stay the same. I don't think this is even a viable option. I don't think this is feasible. I don't think there's any way this can happen. Anyhow, I don't, this is the only one of the options that cannot happen, because with the new tech that's coming out over the next couple of years, with 5G, with the new improved storage that I've heard about, read about these, they're going to be able to store huge amounts of data in little tiny devices. Huge amounts of data, right? And the bandwidth with 5G, it's going to be like, I've read 1,000 times faster, right? I can't really picture that, but that's what they're saying. And it's going to become like free, basically, right? So bandwidth, these hurdles right now to competing like with a YouTube or these others aren't going to be there in a couple of years, right? There's a ton of new code being written, right? So all of these factors make it so that the status quo is impossible. It's not going to happen, okay? Even if they want it to happen, which they would probably be happy with keeping the status quo, but the technocrats need to roll out these new technologies in order to further enslave all of us. So you can't have self-driving cars and the Internet of Things and tracking us everywhere else without rolling out 5G and these other things, right? So these technologies give us, they're meant for bad, but we might be able to spin them and use them for good. For those of us that survive the cancers, of course, that's a whole other video. 5G is not healthy, by the way. Be careful. If you live near towers or whatever, however they do it. These big tech companies, they know their days are numbered. They know they're doomed. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, they know what's coming. They see the writing on the walls, right? And so I think, I did some other videos on this already explaining this. I really think that that's why they're doing this ramped up, escalating the censorship of Christians and conservatives and even liberals, even like moms with autistic kids trying to talk about, cures for their kids are getting banned and censored, right? And shadow banned, right? So, they're doing everything they can to tick people off, to bait people into having them declared public utilities, right? Public squares, everyone keeps saying, public squares. Twitter's not a public square, okay? The internet is a public square. Twitter is a house, a business, okay? Not a public square, okay? So that's their only chance. And so that's what I think they're pushing for, this option, this road number two, which is nationalizing these big tech companies. That's what they're pushing for. That's what they want to evolve into, are these. So they're trying to bait us into having them declared utilities, right? Which would be a terrible option, right? Option number two, road number two, nationalization of big tech is a terrible idea, okay? It'll put us in worse ghetto type style systems than we're already in, okay? We'll be forced into these environments. And if you want to make any kind of political comment and be heard to the masses, then you're going to feel this need to publish it there all the time, right? Now remember, these sites, they're going to be moderated. Somebody's going to be moderating these. If you've ever been on the internet on sites that aren't moderated at all, then you understand, some moderation is needed sometimes. Okay. And so these sites are going to be moderated by people that you probably don't agree with. And they're going to be moderating content and calling your speech hate, right? Just like Jack does. Okay. So you're literally, out of the pan into the frying, out of the pan into the fire, right? Is what people are begging for. And then once we have that, we're going to be locked in. It's going to make it very hard. These guys are going to get public money. They're going to have, free everything basically, because they're going to be public utilities. And no one's going to be able to compete with them in a free market, right? It's going to be impossible. And they'll be entrenched in our lives forever if they're nationalized, okay? So that's number two, terrible option, right? Inevitably what will happen if that does happen, right? Or some some form thereof, right? We're going to have these other, like right now we have these other conservative so-called free speech alternatives that are popping up, right? The alternative social networks, right? To me, honestly, I own one, okay? Full disclaimer, right? Oneway.com. To me, this is the most dangerous of the options, okay, going forward, because what it does is actually gives people a false sense of security where they think, oh, well, at least I have this now. This is a place where we can go and have free speech, right? Everyone that owns these sites has different ideas of what's right and wrong, different levels of morality. Some of them are running scams and they don't like being questioned and they'll ban you. Some of them might think this kind of images are wrong, and someone might think saying this is wrong or right. And, you're still going to have censorship, right? Even on these free speech alternatives, okay? Believe me when I say it happens, okay? I've done videos on this also already. And what will happen is these sites will become, if they get any real traction, if they get any real membership, real users, they're going to be compromised too. Anybody arrogant enough to think that they can run a giant social network and not be compromised is very naive. Okay, the reality of the matter is that these big tech companies, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, etc., Instagram, these are all government funded projects from the get-go, okay? And they're government operated, okay? They're very, very useful tools for intelligence agencies to collect information on people, track people, and things like that. Very important tools, very useful tools. They're not going to let someone sidestep that, okay? They're going to compromise it. And if you think you can't be compromised, then you're definitely can be compromised because you're arrogant and dumb. Okay, so you'll easily be compromised, and a lot of the people that are starting these free speech sites, they're really just Mark Zuckerberg wannabes or Jack Dorsey wannabes. They lust for the power, and they're kind of using the free speech concepts as a marketing tool to their own fame and glory and wealth. Okay, so their motives aren't really good either. Most of these people, and they would easily be swayed away from any form of any principles with fear or money or coercion of any kind, right? So that would be a terrible, and that's the scariest because people would trust these other alternatives, right? And be lulled to sleep and not continue developing things going forward to try to keep everybody free. They would think, oh, we got this covered now, we get this, that's good enough, we're good, right? So to me, that's the most dangerous of options, right? Number three, the free speech and alternative options rising up to compete with these big tech companies because they're still just centralized social networks. Again, right? Easy to compromise. One individual, a couple of people running it, very susceptible, right? Very dangerous stuff. So number four. Something else, something new, something completely and totally different. Okay. So for me, this is something I've put a lot of time and thought into. This is just a quick little list I came up with of, to me, the things that are most important requirements in something new. Whenever I'm thinking about building something, anything really, a house, a business, a website, someone's building a car, whatever, a tool, whatever someone's building, you want to think about use cases, okay? So for me, the use cases that were near and dear to me when I started developing these things, where one is I want to share the gospel with people in hard to reach places of the world, okay? Places where it's dangerous, that people can't really get into safely, right? And number two, people struggling with chronic health conditions, cancers and Lyme disease and all kinds of other neurological diseases, right? And that are struggling, scared, their days are numbered, they're trying to find some natural treatments and things like that. I started 2 websites early on, years ago actually, and one each for doing both of these things. One to share the gospel in every language of the world, and another one to build these build this health social network. And I got squelched everywhere I turned, right? I mean, Facebook shut me down, Twitter shut me down. And so I just said, okay, fine. You want to play? We'll play. And so then I said, okay, I'm going to build my own social network. And that's what I've been doing ever since for the last couple of years, and so this is something that's important to me, right? These use cases. Also, in addition to that, I would say these political dissidents, people that are trying to expose corruption in different governments and different police forces and intelligence everywhere. There's corruption and there's evil taking place, right? People need to be anonymous a lot of times, right? People need to have a place to get this stuff out. So, in all of my use cases, basically, it involves anonymous users. Okay, that's an important point in all of this. Nobody wants to go and talk about their medical problems with their real identity, right? And if somebody's in a foreign land, they can't really have a spiritual discussion about these kind of things, or make a point or profess any kind of faith in anything other than what's forced on them there, without suffering severe repercussions, right? Same thing with the political dissidents and whistleblowers and such, right? So anonymity is very, very important, okay? Along with that, one of the most important parts of any social network should be the code should be open for everyone to see. And there should be kind of a system in place to verify that the code that's being published for people to see is actually being run on the servers that these guys are interacting with, okay? Very, very important. I understand some sites when they're first launching, it's hard to do it because your code might not be clean and secure and things. You're nervous. But after a site's been around for a couple of years and it's, the first thing they should be doing is putting the code out, okay? Without a doubt. Decentralized. This is very important. I'm going to come back to this one here in just a second. But decentralization means you don't want centralized servers, right? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, they're all one business. I mean, it's not one server, but it's controlled. It's one network, one site, basically, right? And so theoretically, it's all just one machine with one database and one front end, right? That's pushing all this out. It's not, and it's one group of people controlling it all, okay? Ideally, what you want lots of different people individually that you trust to have access and control over your data, right? The closer to you, the better. Kind of like within government, right? You're much better off with a real local government. They're going to care more about you than some big government, federal government over the top of you, right? So the more decentralized you are, typically the more say you can have in things, and the more you're able to track things and keep things in check, okay? It has to be easy and free or nearly free to use and operate, okay? So the code needs to be like basically free, and it needs to be very easy to install and very cost effective to run, okay? Those are very important factors, right? Because, people can't afford to scale like a Twitter. Everyone can't afford to run a Twitter clone, right? But you can afford to run, like a WordPress style site, right? For a couple dollars a month, or sign up another site and run it for free, basically, right? Needs to be portable. So suppose you're on one social network, say you're on Twitter, and then Jack starts acting up like he does, and you say, I want to move over to this other social network. You should be able to take your data, all the posts that you've made, all the media you've uploaded, and be able to move over to another place and just, create an account and upload that and be up and running again, okay? So it needs to be portable. Otherwise, you're going to be locked in, into some, long contract, basically, right? Because it's so expensive to try to relocate. And then it needs to be professional. We need to have powerful and useful tools, right? a lot of the alternative sites that are out there, their user interfaces are awful. Their backends are awful. They're basically unusable from profession. They're unprofessional. People aren't going to migrate to something that looks like, some 16-year-old kid did, right? In his spare time, right? So they need to be professional. Okay. So those are kind of the key elements for me, that we should be looking for in these alternatives and in these new things that are coming, right? So these are within this world of decentralization. There's different levels. Okay, there's a lot of people talking about having a blockchain-based social network. I personally think that's a terrible idea. Okay, I mean, the whole concept of blockchain is it's a permanent ledger. So you make a note, you make a ledger placement, ledger record, and so those things are supposed to be permanent. That's the whole use of it, is that these are permanent things that are marked, and that stays there forever, right? Entries, these ledger entries, boom, boom, and it stays there forever. No one can possibly delete it. Okay. Suppose someone uploads a picture of you, suppose you do something stupid when you're 16 and take a selfie doing something really you shouldn't be doing, and then it gets uploaded. That's there forever. No one can ever take that down again, right? Suppose someone takes a picture of sneaks a picture of your wife undressed, right? And, and post that, or one of your kids, right? Or child porn or something like that. That's there forever. Okay. You can't remove it. Okay. To me, that's a very, very, very bad idea, right? Having something like that. And it would give everyone cause to do everything they can to shut it down, right? And inevitably that kind of material is definitely going to get posted for sure, right? Even if it's just by people that just want to be malicious and vandals and just destroy it. Because once they post it, then everyone's going to be screaming to take it down, right? So I think that's a bad idea. These sites out there right now that are claiming to be blockchain-based social networks, they're not blockchain social networks. They're centralized social networks, just like a normal centralized site, with this layer on top. It's called gamification, where you just add, like, if you do this, you get a token. You do that, you get a token, kind of a thing. And they just have this, this cryptocurrency on top of it that's just handing out these tokens, basically, right? But the data is not being stored in any kind of a blockchain or something like that. So some of the stuff's a little misleading. So I'm against the crypto. I'm against the blockchain socials ideas, right? If they're even possible, I'm against them from the get-go, right? And if it's a permanent ledger, in terms of a social, is a very bad idea to me. Okay, it's the wrong tool for the project. Okay, and I don't think it's a good idea, right? So that's out to me, right? So then within the realm of decentralization, you have really decentralized, like one end of the spectrum, which is everybody has their own instance running, like on a mobile device or on a laptop or something like that, and they're responsible 100% for their own data, and they connect to this network of other people that all have it on their phones, and you form this virtual social network where everyone's interacting with each other from their own mobile devices, just like they would be on a standalone site, like on Twitter, right? So that's good. It's, to me, in the use cases that I most care about, I don't think it's a wise move, right? Because it takes away the idea of anonymity, because it's tied to your device, right, which can be tracked back to you. And if someone gets their device taken, like say they're in some not so nice country, and their device gets taken, all their data is right there. So all the proof they need right there to execute this person is right there, right? And so there's a lot of people pushing for this idea of this pods concept. I like it in certain use cases, but not for the use cases I'm most concerned about, right? And for me, a better idea would be to have lots and lots and lots of Twitters, okay? Like thousands and thousands and thousands of Twitters, okay? And everybody connects to their own little community that they know the person, hopefully, that's running it, and they can trust that person, right? More so, at least, than Jack Dorsey or Mark Zuckerberg, right? Who's ever really running these things, right? They connect to that social network. They can then interact with everyone else in the whole universe, right, through this virtual social network, and do their thing, and then leave and then there's no information left on their device, so they can leave and then walk around like do their thing and leave, and there's no connection to them. Okay, that to me is a better option. I like the idea of having both, right? I like options, right? So here's some examples of people that are This is kind of new. I mean, this has only been around for a couple of years. Really, the guy that started it was Diaspora. This kid named Ilya years ago started it, and great kid, genius kid. A lot of people think he's Satoshi Nakamoto, whatever, the guy that started Bitcoin. I don't know if that's true or not. It's a great kid, right? Died a very mysterious death at a very young age. And so who knows what the cause of that was, but most people speculate that it wasn't, that it was foul play of some kind, because he was developing tech that would compete with these big tech people, right? So this isn't a game, right? Ilya was a great kid. And so there's Diaspora, there's Mastodon. Mastodon's probably the biggest one, I think, right now. It's a Twitter clone. And again, the way it works is they have open source code. You take your code base, you put it on your own server. Someone else takes the code, puts it on their server. Someone else takes the code, puts it on their server. And then everybody runs it. And they get their applications going on these different servers, and they're all automatically connected. So you can, you're interacting with each other, even though they're different websites. They're different on different servers with different admins and different user lists. They're all interacting just like they're on one social network through this protocol, this WC3 standard protocol called ActivityPub. ActivityPub is good. It's not great at all. It's very primitive. It doesn't have a lot of features built into it yet, right? But it's in its infancy. But it's probably going to continue to develop and grow. And it's great. The only difference is when you're looking at a username, it'll say like @Derek, and then it'll say and then whatever your domain name is, right? Like @Derek@fediway.com, right? Or whatever, right? @Derek@oneway.com, right? So that's how you identify people. So it's the username plus the domain name of the instance of the hub, whatever you want to call it, the other server that this other application is running on, right? So that's how you identify people on there and know which server they're coming from. And again, they all interact with each other just like it's one social network, right? But they're controlled. It's decentralized. And again, the closer you get to your local people running it that you actually know and have some say in, the better off you are, just like in anything. Okay. So these are some of the popular ones. Just shout outs to them. Social Home, Miss Key. This little kid in Japan did a great application. Been working on it for years himself. He's a good kid. Seems like really good kid. Has some very good ideas. Right. We built one of these ourselves that I'm going to tell you about here in just a second. And most of the ideas we got came from this kid, this Miski kid. Friendica, Osada, Hubzilla, Pleroma. This has become a popular one lately. Gango. Diaspora, again, is a Twitter clone. It's probably the biggest. It has the most users. Mastodon is the biggest, probably the most users. Diaspora, again, is probably is the first, as far as I know. PeerTube, which is kind of like a YouTube version of this decentralized concept, and GNU Social, which I thought was the same thing as Pleroma. But anyway, so these are all examples of these new ideas, this new technology that's developing, right? Which I think is going to be the future of social media, right? These decentralized open source programs that people can run on a local server, or better yet, on a mobile device, okay? So what we did is we built one of these, right, that we've been working on for a while now. Anyway, and it's called Fediway, and basically you can run it anywhere, right? It's all Redis. You don't need to. You can install it. Runs on you can run it on your phone. You can run it on a server. You can do whatever. It scales from 1 to 1 million. You can have an instance with just yourself on it and connect to others, or you can have 1 million people. I mean, to me, the whole concept here is decentralization. So we want to try. I'm not even going to run one of these. Honestly, I'm not even going to control one myself, just so people don't sign up on mine. It becomes a big one because I believe in decentralization. So I want people to go create their own instances, their own servers, and then build their own little communities. And you shouldn't build a community bigger than what you can moderate, okay? Don't let communities get bigger than what you can effectively moderate and control yourself, right? This isn't a contest to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, right? This is a place for everyone to be able to communicate effectively and freely, okay? And again, you can run this on your cell phone in a one-person instance, or on a local machine on a one-person instance, or run it on a big, huge server. Whatever you want to do, it'll scale automatically. So, and the difference between ours and these others, we're not running. We can hear ActivityPub, but it's like, very primitive language to us. We're doing everything you see on Twitter. We can do, right. It's all the Twitter functionality and the card and the deck. And we're also going to have a YouTube clone. We're going to have a Instagram clone, and we're going to have a Medium blogging clone also. Again, they're all shared into the community. You can pick in Fediway, you can pick which other websites you want to connect with. Okay, so you don't have to be connected to the whole world when you create an instance. You can just pick whichever specific servers that you want to connect with, or don't connect with anybody, right? Although that would be kind of antisocial. You'd be just like Twitter, right? Boring. So you can connect with whoever you want to connect with and form your own verse. We call these verses, right? So whenever you're connected to 10 other websites, that's your verse, right? These other 100,000 people are connected to these other 100,000, are all interconnected with each other. That's their verse. And our verses can overlap. There could be 100 people in our verse and then 100 people in this verse, but they share 20 people in common, right? So there's, just picture an infinite number of verses intermingling and overlapping, and everybody communicating within their own verses however they want, okay, freely. And each site is responsible for doing their own moderating. Each site is responsible for managing their own community and having their own community guidelines. And communities can decide if they want to associate with other communities or not, right? Or individuals can decide if they want to associate with other individuals or not. Or individuals can decide if they want to associate with other communities or not from the local device. So there's a lot of flexibility here. Hopefully this is what's going to catch on for the future. I really believe that this is what's going to make us more free in terms of social networking, in terms of social media. So I hope everyone tries to learn more. I'm going to do some more videos. I'm going to do some demos on Fediway here over the next week or so as we get ready closer to launch. So if anybody has any questions, just go to fediway.org and send me a question. Be happy to answer anybody. And please stay tuned for more videos. Thanks again. I'm Derek from Hope Holdings. Bye-bye.